Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest Leicestershire Police Federation podcast. My name remains Royston Martis, and I'm delighted to be joined once again by the chair of Leicestershire Police Federation, Mr. Andy Spence. Good afternoon, Andy. How are you?
All right, Royston, you?
Lovely. I am tremendous. Thank you for asking. Now, Andy has been a very busy man of late, and one of the reasons we are putting this podcast on when we are putting it on is that Andy has been sticking up for his colleagues, sticking up for his members after the PCC has announced that money that could and perhaps should go towards police officers and police staff has been put towards or will be put towards street wardens, private security. And I thought I'd start, Andy, by asking you why this has riled you so much.
Well, this is £2 million that when it's taken out of the policing budget, it won't ever come back. This is £2 million that the PCC, that instead of spending the money on 60 police officers or 60 PCSOs, he wants to pay that towards private security guards. Those private security guards, SIA registered, all they will do is call the police. They have no policing powers whatsoever. They have no accountability towards us whatsoever. That, for me, is absolutely dangerous. That is taking money away from the police service that should be staying in the police service.
So plastic police officers, essentially, not real bobbies and police staff who can look after people.
Yeah, it's like ordering a police officer on Teemu. That's it.
Why is he doing this?
We don't know, is the absolute honest answer. I think he says that he wants to see visible policing out in the streets, that he wants to see all of that. But at the same time, he also recognises that the abstractions that police officers face, that our neighbourhood colleagues face, going to protest, going down to London, being taken off of things, being used for court, all those type of things, that rather than backfilling those abstractions and properly funding us and properly staffing us, that he goes, I will create a two-tier policing system in these market towns, not in the Leicester city centre, but solely in the market towns.
But people in market towns pay their taxes like anyone else, don't they? They want to see proper police officers who can lock up criminals and keep them safe.
Absolutely. And for absolute clarity, I'm saying this shouldn't be in at all, whether it's Leicester city centre or a market town or a village or wherever. This is not needed. These are 60 officers that he could have. 60 officers, to give you an example, that's nearly all of the police officers at Melton Police Station, all the police constables at Melton Police Station.
Why are we policing on the cheap? Why would he? What on earth is going on here that's making him do this? Is the budget pressures so much that it's trying to be a shortcut to policing?
No, I mean, this is the same PCC that, if you remember, back in February, he wanted to underfund us back then. And he had to do the U-turn at that point when his own police and crime panel told him that this was a bad idea, that he's now doing this.
Because you're basically saying, on behalf of our members and indeed the public of Leicestershire and Rutland, this isn't working, this isn't right.
No, it's not right at all. It's absolutely not right. Because when that shoplifter needs to be detained, it's a police officer that needs to do it. The officers I've spoken to at Melton, where this pilot ran in place, they've said these security marshals have got no way of contacting the police, so they would run round to the police station and talk about a shoplifter that had been detained. These shoplifters that are being detained, they are the low-hanging fruit. They are not targeting the OCG members. They're not targeting the people involved in county lines. They're not targeting those involved in the high harm offending, where we're talking about £500 worth of goods being taken out of stores in a single go. These security guards are targeting the £13.99 makeup from a local store that you go, where's that going to go to? We need to be looking at these people, and the security guards have got no access to the judiciary system. They've got no access to being able to refer children on to external agencies. That all comes down to the police.
So why not have more police officers then?
We don't know. That's the simple thing. This is £2 million he is going to spend on somebody calling the police rather than the police himself.
Now, I seem to have heard myself say why quite a lot in the last 10 minutes. It just seems daft. He, I understand, claims or will claim that it's been a success in other areas. Have you got any evidence? Do you know where he's talking about this sort of policing being, or this style of police/security work being a success?
He has spoken to some businesses at Melton, but we don't know who. And it's the businesses who like security guards. My pushback on that is if the businesses like security guards, the businesses can employ security guards. Policing is there to police. The evidence that I've seen from Humberside Police, which has come about and been verified by HMIC as being outstanding, is where that funding was put into police officers and PCSOs to tackle the antisocial behaviour, the shoplifting, and all the resounding issues which come with those things. That led to the highest detection rate in the country for those matters. And that's where police officers are used to being able to use civil orders as well. They're used to being able to have that good relationships. And importantly, that when those crimes and offences come in, the police officers can access the CCTV. They can take cases to court. Security guards can't. Security guard could be in one town today, the next town tomorrow, another town somewhere else. They've got no resilience, no way of being able to access our intelligence, no way of being able to know what else is going on. And importantly, here in the middle of all this, they won't have the PPE. The security guards themselves are at risk of harm. Members of the public are at risk of harm. And also, we've got to think here as well, the people potentially being detained could be at risk of harm.
So presumably, these private security guards will be in fluorescent yellow jackets. They'll probably look like police officers or PCSOs. Is that another fear, that it sort of literally is policing on the cheap, isn't it?
The ones we've seen have been in blue tabards, and they're not allowed to chase after the shoplifters.
This is beginning to sound entirely pointless, isn't it?
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So what are you left with? Obviously, you're doing, and such as this. You've done some media rounds, and you've spoken out about it, and you've talked to people. What is left? Is he going to listen? Is he going to perform another screeching U-turn as he did with the funding, as you say earlier this year?
We don't know. We are doing some work behind the scenes. We are speaking to the government and into the MPCC about this as well. I appreciate the government's got a lot of other things on the go at the moment, but those are channels that we're working towards as well. I would love to have a conversation with him about this. We had a conversation with his office about it back in February to say this is a really bad idea.
And?
We gave him the evidence from Humberside about what he should do. They took that away. We didn't hear anything. And then we had the radio interview that came out.
For those of us ugly enough and old enough and with long enough memories, we remember the London Olympics in 2012 when private security in the run up to it was deemed to be the panacea and the solution to all our ills and our problems. And I think it was Group 4, G4, call them what they were, what they will, what they are. Let the side down, let the policing service down, and funnily enough, it was police officers that had to cover the mess created by that letdown. Deja vu all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Policing on the cheap is the simplest thing to do. These are policing jobs that should be left to the police, and whether that be police officers or PCSOs, this gulf that is here needs to be staffed appropriately by officers and staff. This is not something that you can delegate out to security officers, because in the same breath, Rupert says that he recognises this funding will only be around until the end of his term, which is about another 18 months. So what's going to happen at that point there?
There's going to be a gulf, isn't it? Because all the security guards are going to go.
But at the same time, that money's already been taken out of policing.
You're never going to see that again, are you?
That's right.
You mentioned it briefly. What happens? One of your police officer colleagues is accused of excessive use of force, whether that may or may not have happened. The accusation can come in. A lot of the people, the security guards will cry foul, like it happens against now. When obviously a police officer, someone cries foul against a police officer, there is a system in place. There is the federation, there is support, there is accountability, there is the IOPC, there is professional standards departments, there is so on and so forth. What happens when a security guard does something? Is Rupert gonna foot the bill? Your PCC gonna foot the bill for all the legal proceedings that can and will follow by a law when an injury lawyer comes after them?
I doubt it. I've not seen any plans in place for that. I'm not aware of them having staff associations like ours. And it could be us as police officers who are asked to investigate them.
But someone has to be accountable for it, though, don't they? And you know, are you
Absolutely.
saying that the PCC will be accountable if his decision to introduce security guards in this format backfires?
Yeah. Well, we don't know where that's going to be funded from, because what will happen is he said that it's going to go out to tender. So will those companies be building a margin in for all of that? You know, for all of these things, where does that training, where's that accountability come from? The police officers on the front line will be able to say, here is my training, here is my certification, here is when I was trained in all of these things, here is how I am competent to take cases to the judiciary. All of the things that security guards can't.
And we've seen over the last week or so, we've seen some reaction to this from your colleagues on the front line. They're really not happy with the situation, are they, Andy?
No, that's right, because we're already seeing the budget and the policing being decimated slowly and slowly, eroded away. And it's one thing when it's government, and you can almost say, well, that's the government, and we don't like it, but it becomes part and parcel of us having to deal with government on a day-to-day basis. It's very different when it's the man who sits down the corridor from you who says, right, I'm going to take 2 million out of here. I'm going to wipe out 60 officers or 60 staff just so I can have some security guards in there.
It's quite offensive as well, isn't it? Is that too much? Say it's quite offensive to a police officer who's spent years and years of studying or on the job training or both,
Yeah.
as they do now, and then is out there getting, on the job training, getting spat at, getting punched, getting kicked at, but earning their spurs, for want of a better phrase. And they're told, we don't want more of you. We want more people that are cheaper than you,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. People who are cheaper than you, people who won't run after criminals, people who might be here today, will be somebody different tomorrow, might be somewhere else in the long run, people who won't actually do any work, but all they'll do is pick up the phone and call you. That's it. So what value does that say to our police officers?
I mean, it's a rhetorical question, I think you're asking there, Andy, but
Yeah.
I'm going to answer it. It says we don't value. It says we'd
Yeah.
rather. I mean, where does this end? Are there any police officers and staff left if your police and crime commissioner gets his way?
Well, that will be the start, won't it? It will be those 60 to start with, and then it will be hailed as a success, which my view is it won't be. And then it doesn't stop at all because it creates that two-tier justice system.
Well, call me a cynic, but of course it will be hailed as a success because anyone will view it or find the statistics to back it up. Look, we've stopped 10 shoplifters.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. And you've let the 10 high harm ones go, who are then taking that shoplifting. And as we all, as cops, know, that will then be sold. The money will go into drugs, the money will go into organised crime groups, that money will then disappear, or that money will then go on to be used in much more high level, high harm crimes. And actually, the 10 people that you've stopped, they're children. And actually, what you more need to be thinking about there is how do you prevent that reoffending in the future? How do you divert them away from that life of offending? What processes can you put them in place? What about their home life? What's going on at home? It's all that type of thing. For the person who's stealing because they've got no food on the table, it's all those type of things that you need to consider.
A security card. No, I mean, again, no offense to the individuals doing the role. That's
Yeah,
that's a role, and there is a place for it, but not at the expense of police officer roles. I think that's what we're saying, isn't it?
absolutely.
And why? The final one from me on this, Andy. Why have you decided to go so vocal on this? Because you have been quite vocal, and you continue to be quite vocal, including today.
Yeah, I am quite vocal on this because this is he's decided that this is a pilot, but actually it's a really, really bad one as well. This is a really, really bad idea. The all the feedback that I've had on this is a really, really bad idea. This is £2 million coming out of policing. £2 million for somebody else to call the police. It's a horrific idea. You just got to look at it and go, what's that going to do? And if Rupert, part of what Rupert's saying is as a child, he used to look out and see security guards and all the reflective jackets and people in uniform on all the streets. That's fantastic. But tell those businesses to employ their own security guards, or tell the council to employ their own security guard. It is not our job as the police to privately fund security guards. It's our job as the police to provide police officers and PCSOs and staff and all the other functions, and we will work together to prevent and detect crime and investigate it and do all the other things that as a police service we do. It's not our job to outsource policing to the highest bidder.
So essentially, you're also saying this is a very dangerous, slippery slope that that policing, not just in Leicestershire but elsewhere, could go down and watch it look at this with peril.
Yeah, absolutely. The rich, affluent neighbourhood who wants to employ private security guards or private street marshals so that they feel a sense of security that they can do that, and then that would be 3 other jobs gone from policing to look after that village.
Well, you could argue, again, not for you to say, Andy, but 15 years ago when police and crime commissioners came in, I was one of the people warning that police and crime commissioners could move money to areas where their votes would come if they needed to get. And obviously we know that police and crime commissioners won't be around in a couple of years, but this is the kind of point, isn't it? We can do this, we can introduce this because I might get some votes here, or it's making policing a little bit political as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. This doesn't smack of, and I won't stray into what the political parties say about policing, but I'm not aware of anybody who's in favour of, as a political party, of doing this.
So you're saying perhaps it's a one-man show?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what does it do? I here he is as the person who's doing this. It's got people talking about it. I don't agree with it at all. This is £2 million coming out of policing, going to security guards to call the police.
Finally, from you on this, Andy, a message to your colleagues about your fight over this, the reason you're speaking up and how you'll continue to speak up over this.
We will continue to speak up about this. We're really in conversations with Police Federation down at Leatherhead. They are in conversations with the government about it and the MPCC. Please, if you have concerns about it, please raise them with us as the branch. Equally, with your own views, please feel free to share them with us and share them with the PCC. Be really vocal about this, because those 60 jobs around you might not be there in a year's time or in 18 months' time. 60 officers is a lot. 60 PCSOs is a lot.
Okay, and what's the timescale, in terms of when your PCC, Rupert Matthews, would like to introduce these 60 security guards?
He is talking about going out to tender later on this year, so I would anticipate them being in post for next year.
Well, we'll see about that. As we say, he anticipated a little some numbers with your council tax not so long ago, and that didn't come through either. So we'll watch this space, I guess, I suppose, is the point.
Yeah.
We'll finish, Andy, today with something a bit more brighter. We're going to finish with the Force Awards at the back end of last week. You attended on behalf of the Federation. Just fill us in on the day and your thoughts about your colleagues who were successful at that event.
So we had the Chief Constable's Awards on Thursday evening. It was a fantastic night. The stories of bravery, heroic acts, brilliant investigations, people who give up their own time, people who go the extra mile day in, day out, whether that be police officers, PCSOs, staff, volunteers, all of those categories there. And they just, the night went on and on and on because there were so many awards for different things. And it was fantastic to see so many people being awarded for so many different things. We heard about Crown Court commendations, Chief Constable's Award for bravery. We heard about members of the public who were stopping to help and to help save lives. We heard about officers going into a flat to arrest somebody and recognizing somebody very unwell, and in the middle of an aggressive, very tense situation, stopping what they were doing to help save someone's life as well. And it's all of those things where officers day in, day out are doing this, and it's absolutely right that they're recognized.
Andy, thank you very much for joining us once again on the Leicestershire Police Federation podcast. We'll join you again very soon.
Thanks, Royston.